The investors who moved money because of headlines almost always lost. The investors who built correctly from the start and held almost always won. The strategy that makes that possible is called the new 60-40. Most of you have heard of the classic 60-40 portfolio, 60% stock, 40% bonds. It was the gold standard of investing for decades. And in the 1980s, when interest rates were super high and bonds delivered real returns, it worked beautifully. But that world no longer exists. Since 2008, and especially since 2020, the relationship between stocks and bonds has fundamentally changed. In the old model, when stocks dropped, bonds cushioned the fall. They moved in opposite directions. That was the whole point, but that stopped working. In 2022, both stocks and bonds dropped simultaneously. The S&P 500 fell over 18%. The Bloomberg US Aggregate Bond Index, the benchmark for that 40% bond allocation, fell nearly 13% at the same time. That's not a hedge. That's a portfolio with nowhere to hide. The new 60-40 fixes that. Instead of 60% equities and 40% bonds, you flip the script. 60% goes into alternative assets like real estate, private credit, private equity, gold, and a small allocation to even Bitcoin. And 40% goes into traditional assets, primarily equities, with a smaller bucket of fixed income like bonds. The reason your financial advisor at Fidelity or Schwab hasn't told you about it is that when you invest in alternative assets, you're not buying their mutual funds or ETFs. They don't control your money anymore. I talk about this a lot on my channel because it's my personal mission to help more people take back control of their investments instead of letting banks feed you an outdated strategy. The 60-40 portfolio is how I invest. And so do the largest institutional investors in the world. University endowments, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds have been running versions of this for decades. David Swenson managed Yale's endowment for 36 years. The core of his philosophy, illiquid alternative assets held for the long term outperform a portfolio anchored entirely in public markets. The difference between those institutions and most retail investors? Access and structure. That's exactly what a self-directed IRA gives you, and I'll get to that shortly. Let me walk you through how the alternative side of this portfolio is built. Real estate makes up 15 to 30% of your alternatives bucket. Real estate is the anchor of the strategy. It generates rental income, appreciates over time, and historically holds its value when inflation runs hot. When the dollar loses its purchasing power, hard assets like real estate tend to hold or gain real value. It is one of the few assets that work with inflation rather than against it. Private credit and hard money loans make up 5% of 15%. This is one of the most underused tools in retail investing, and it's where I see some of the most consistent returns. Well-structured private credit funds have historically generated 9% to 10% annually. Individual deals, where you're lending directly to a borrower at a fixed rate secured by real assets, can push that return to 12 or 15%, or even more. The risk here is liquidity and counterparty quality, so due diligence matters. But inside a retirement account, every dollar of that interest compounds tax-deferred, or tax-free in the case of a Roth. That changes the math significantly. Private equity and private business make up 1 to 5%. This carries the highest ceiling of anything in the portfolio. It also carries real risk. Many private businesses fail, and your capital can be tied up for years. But the upside, when it works, is unlike anything in public markets. I've seen clients turn modest investments into life-changing outcomes. The key is diversifying within this bucket and never allocating more than you can afford to leave illiquid for a decade. Gold makes up 1% to 5%. Gold is not a growth asset. It's an inflation hedge and a crisis buffer. It tends to hold value when currencies weaken and markets panic. In a diversified portfolio, that stability has real value. Not because gold makes you rich, but because it keeps you from losing ground when everything else is under pressure. I personally started buying gold in the last few years because of inflation, which I expect is here to stay for a lot longer than most people expect, and it's really going to impact your portfolio if you are not ready. I recently shared my outlook on inflation in this video. Bitcoin also makes up 1% to 5%. Bitcoin is the asymmetric growth position in this portfolio, and it's personally one of my best performing assets of all time. Even with a small allocation, there's high upside potential. It has also shown sensitivity to regulatory environments, something I'll come back to in a bit. At 1% to 5%, even a significant drop doesn't derail the portfolio. But the upside potential over a 10 to 20-year horizon, I believe, justifies the position for most investors. The smartest investors aren't just investing in these assets directly, though. They are investing in a tax-efficient way because Uncle Sam wants its cut. Before starting IRA Financial, I used to advise billionaires as a tax attorney in New York City, and I share how the wealthy invest and avoid taxes in this video. Definitely watch it after. It's linked in the description. Now that you understand the 60% in alternative assets, the remaining 40% is your traditional allocation, and this is where your age starts to matter. The core of this bucket is equities, aka stocks. This makes up roughly 80% of the 40% bucket. The rest is fixed income, like bonds and cash equivalents, which provides more stability without overweighting an asset class that gets eroded by inflation. Together, this gives you market participation and liquidity, while the 60% in alternatives does the heavy lifting on long-term growth and inflation protection. The new 60/40 framework stays the same at every stage of life. What changes is how you're positioned within it. I'm not a financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice. This is purely for educational purposes only. But this is how I'd personally invest if I were in my 20s and 30s. I'd be lean, aggressive. Within your 40% traditional allocation, target a 90-10 split. 90% equities, 10% fixed income. On the alternative side, I'd be weighed more heavily towards private equity, Bitcoin, and growth-oriented real estate. You have time. Volatility is not your enemy at this stage of your life. It's the mechanism by which long-term compounding works. Use it. In your 40s and 50s, you stay in the same 60/40 framework, but the fixed income portion inside your traditional 40% bucket starts to grow. You're still seeking upside, but you're also beginning to build in some stability. Think of this decade as the transition from accumulation to more protection. You don't abandon growth, you just start adding a floor. In your 60s and 70s, the answer depends on one question. Do you actually need to live off the money? If you're only taking RMDs, required minimum distributions, roughly 3 to 4% of your account value annually, and you have other income sources, you may want to still stay aggressive. That money still has a long-term horizon, potentially passing to the next generation. In that case, the new 60/40 stays intact. If you need the account as your primary income source, then you get more conservative and you shift more of the 60% into fixed income from equities. You reduce the riskier corners of your alternative asset bucket. The framework adapts to your situation, not just your age. Getting the allocation right is step one, but where you hold these assets matters just as much as what you hold. Putting the new 60/40 inside a self-directed IRA is where the strategy really compounds. This is because not only is your money growing, but it's growing tax-free. Here's a concrete example. Say you're doing hard money loans, lending to real estate borrowers at 12% annually. If you do that personally, every dollar of interest gets taxed as ordinary income. Depending on your tax bracket, you could be handing 37 cents on every dollar to Uncle Sam before it has a chance to compound. Do the same deal inside of a self-directed IRA, and the tax is deferred until withdrawal in a traditional IRA or potentially eliminated entirely in a Roth IRA. That difference, compounded over 20 or 30 years, is transformational. Congress designed early withdrawal penalties to keep this capital invested long-term. That friction is actually your friend. It forces the kind of long horizon thinking that the best alternative asset managers are already practicing. Real estate operators, private equity managers, private credit funds, they think in 7, 10, 15-year windows. That time alignment is exactly what makes alternative assets inside of a retirement account such a powerful combination. Being patient with your investments is one of the biggest lessons I learned in my 25 years of investing. I shared all my biggest wealth building lessons in this video. Now I want to address something directly because it's the thing that gets investors into the most trouble. We live in a world that produces financial fear on a continuous loop. Every week, there's something new that feels like it should change everything. And here's what Wall Street wants you to do. When those headlines hit, react, trade, move, because every transaction generates a fee. And fear is the most reliable driver of transactions ever invented. Here's what I want you to do instead. Understand which of your assets are headline sensitive and which ones are not. And make sure you're not overexposed to the sensitive ones. Some assets are headline resistant, some are headline sensitive. Real estate is headline resistant. People need places to live and work regardless of what's happening in the news. A well-run private business serving real demand doesn't collapse because of a geopolitical event or a Fed announcement. These are the anchors of the new 60/40. and they make up the majority of it for exactly that reason. Private credit is largely headline resistant too. If you made a secured loan to a real estate borrower at 12%, that borrower still owes you 12%, whether the market is up or down, whether there's a war in the headlines or a surprise rate hike. Gold moves differently. It often strengthens when headlines are bad. Currency fears, geopolitical instability, inflation, anxiety, these are tailwinds for gold. That's why it's in the portfolio. And there are the headline-sensitive assets. Equities, stocks are the most obvious. When Nvidia gets hit with an export ban, the whole semiconductor sector moves. When a major bank fails, financials drop across the board. When the Fed signals higher rates, longer growth stocks get repriced overnight. These aren't irrational moves. They reflect real information, but they create exactly the kind of volatility that derails investors who are over concentrated in public markets. Bitcoin is sensitive too, particularly to regulatory headlines. When the Biden administration directed the SEC to crack down on digital assets, crypto prices fell hard. When the Trump administration took a more permissive stance, they recovered and surged. That's genuine policy sensitivity. It's exactly why Bitcoin sits at just 1% to 5% in this framework. Enough to capture real upside, not enough to sink the portfolio if the environment shifts. Here's the part Wall Street won't tell you. If you're in index funds, mutual funds, ETFs, even diversified portfolios, you may be far more concentrated than you really think. 7 companies, Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Meta, Alphabet, and Tesla, they make up roughly 30 to 35% of the entire S&P 500's market cap. If you're entirely in index funds, you're not diversified across the market. You are making a massive bet on a handful of mega cap tech companies. AI regulation, antitrust action, chip export controls, data privacy legislation, China trade policy. When the headline hits one of them, it hits your entire portfolio. That is not diversification. That is concentration with extra steps. Real diversification means owning assets that respond differently to the same headline. When equities drop on a Fed announcement, real estate cash flows keep coming in. When markets panic over geopolitical news, gold may strengthen. When a tech sell-off hits, your private credit deals keep paying interest. No single headline moves all of them in the same direction at the same time. That is the architecture of a portfolio built for the world we actually live in today. The news cycle is not going to slow down. There will always be another headline, another war, another rate decision, another regulatory crackdown, another earnings miss from a company that was supposed to be invincible. The new 60/40 was not built for a calm world. It was built for this one we live in today. It survives because it's diversified across assets that respond differently to different environments. It grows because alternative assets held for the long term inside of a tax-advantaged structure compound in ways that public markets alone cannot match. And it endures because it doesn't require you to predict anything. Not who wins the election, not what the Fed does next, not which tech company gets regulated. Build it right once, stay diversified, let time do the work. If you want to build your own new 60/40 inside of a self-directed IRA so you're growing tax-free wealth, my company, IRA Financial, offers free consultations with our tax experts. The link to book a call is in the description below. In my next video, I'm going to walk through exactly what happens to your IRA when you pass away, including how to structure this portfolio so it passes to the next generation as efficiently as possible. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. I'll see you in the next one.